It's $150, and you can get a hydraulic press that can press like 10,000 pounds of pressure. It's insane.
That's fucking wild.
Yeah.
You hear that, listeners? Time for some home garage projects.
Time for you to compete with Otter Creek Labs.
At home.
All you need, actually, our first welder was from Harbor Freight too. So there you go. You want to start a suppressor company, go get a welder and a hydraulic press from Harbor Freight and start it up.
You're listening to the Art and More podcast with your hosts, Nathan and B.R. Nathan is a Canadian illustrator with a couple years of military experience, and B.R. is a British anarchist that moved to the States. Both are passionate shooters and community builders. Together, they run the Seaburn Art page. Enjoy the show.
Oh shit, we're recording. Hi, welcome to the Art and War podcast. You literally just said you do the intro, but I talked over you really rudely. I'm Nathan. I almost said, hi, I'm BR. I'm Nathan, this is BR, and today we have Andrew of Otter Creek Labs, the Otter Man himself.
What's up?
How's it going, man? Super excited to have you on the show. I was just saying off air, I'm looking at getting my first suppressor soon, and I've been eyeing up the Polonium, so excited to be chatting with you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here, man. I've been working with Nathan for a while, so some people may not know this, but all of our box art on every single one of our suppressors is made by Nathan.
Hello.
Every single one of our stickers that ships with the suppressors is made by Nathan,
Hello.
And I think every single one of our shirts is also made by Nathan.
Thank you. It's an honor. Absolutely. I fucking love working with you guys. I think my favorite has been the kind of realistic big titty otter with the photorealistic otter face.
I have a funny story about that, okay?
Please. I've been wanting to ask you this for so fucking long, but I've been saving it for an episode.
Oh, about where
inevitable episode.
The origin of the big titty otter girl?
The origin of the big titty sexy otter girl.
Okay, we'll get it.
First 5 minutes, let's fucking go.
We'll get that in a second. But first, this is a funny story. This actually just happened today. So we got a company vehicle last week that the employees are going to share for just like running to the post office or doing whatever. So we're not having to put miles on our personal vehicle. And we contacted a local company who does vehicle wraps and vehicle graphics. And we kind of explained to them, we were like, we're wanting to put a logo on the side of our car and all this kind of stuff. And they're like, yeah, okay, send us the logo. It was the big titty otter girl.
Do you need a vector? I think you need a vector for that.
I don't know. I sent him the PNG file or whatever that you had, but you could just hear him. He had like an audible, like, what the fuck?
were you completely deadpan as you didn't like hint that it was going to be off the wall or anything? Like, oh yeah, this is the logo we're putting up, man.
No, I didn't give him a heads up on what it was. I just said it's a logo going on our company car, and I sent him that.
That is so fucking good.
What the fuck do you guys do? I love that.
So to draw a word picture, it's a very scantily clad, big titty, black lady on her knees holding an Uzi in one hand, and her face is like it's not like a furry. You know how furry art is? Like, it's kind of anthropomorphized human? No, it's just a fucking otter face.
It's very creepy, realistic looking.
It's very creepy. It's super creepy, which I think adds to it quite a bit.
Yeah, so I'll send you a picture when we're getting it put on the company car. I'll get you a picture when it's on there.
Please, God, please, please drive that to SHOT Show across America.
Oh my God, that would be excellent.
Just park that right outside the convention center.
But so the origins of the big titty otter girl, I don't know. There's no way to say it without sounding like a fucking pervert. But if you go to Instagram and you type in Ellie the Empress, it's just this Instagram whore. But you know what I mean? But it's just this black girl with huge tits. And I came across her page one day and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put an otter face on this girl.
Inspiration hit.
She's going to be the face of our company.
I'm looking at it right now. Holy shit. Yeah, BR, I'm just going to email this to you.
Okay.
For
Yeah,
research
For
for research
research.
purposes, because I have it on my iPad here. Um, God, it's so creepy. The face is so creepy.
Oh, I've definitely seen that stuff. That was like pretty early days artwork for Otter Creek, right? Like I remember, like when you just started out, seeing a lot of like kind of the transition from your meme page, which I'm not sure how many people know of, like the meme page origin. Um, but like there was a somewhat transfer of like the kind of spicy, goofy shit into Otter Creek, and it's clearly not gone away.
there was it was definitely like a learning curve, I guess. You know what I mean? Like I had to figure out what I could and couldn't say, and what I could get away with, and what it didn't matter when I was just a meme page. Like I thought making people mad was fun. Like
Yeah.
trolling and making
Yeah.
people mad was fun, but now when I want your money, I can't exactly do that. So I had to figure out how to be a little bit more gentle, and it was a little bit of a learning curve. And I'm still learning. I still mess up sometimes, but I'm trying.
That's what livelihoods are for, right? You know.
Yeah, and I mean, some people build a pretty good brand on pissing people off. As long as you don't piss everyone off, I think
Yeah,
you can get away with like a third of people.
yeah. Like I don't know. Take Q for example.
Yeah,
It seems
you
it
piss
seems
everyone
like
off.
everybody hates them, but they do
Yeah,
extremely well. So,
yeah.
and I
Or
like Q. So
Olight.
Oli, yeah.
Yeah, not saying that either of these companies should like be emulated in any way, but it is examples of like companies with a lot of online hate that doesn't seem to translate into their sales.
Oh no, I'm not shy about it at all. When it came to marketing, I took a lot of my cue. It's kind of a weird way to say it. I took a lot of my marketing cues from Q. Uh, it's like Q dialed down a little bit and more of like a redneck vibe, I guess. But not as many people hate me.
Yeah, I don't think you send awful messages to people quite as much.
No, no, not often. I have before, but not often.
That's the old me
Yeah,
from 3 months ago.
self improvement. I've really changed in the last 2 months.
Well, that's kind of the thing I always appreciate about the like gun community meme pages that did go hard and like were fucking brutal was we kind of need them because someone has to speak truth to the all of the established like age-old companies that for the longest time thrived on either government contracts or just kind of the goodwill of people who didn't know any better. And then when we started to get into the age of Instagram gun meme pages who would just tear people shit like
Yeah,
brutally, like expose like backroom secrets and like people who are in the industry just like anonymously sharing shit and shaming companies and calling people out for quality control. Like I think it's done the industry a lot of good.
I think it has, but I think it's gotten better. So like it was who was the first one? It was like Pie Hitter or something, Pop Hitter or Pie Hitter, and then there was 9mm SMG, and then
Oh yeah,
everybody else kind of followed after that. I was back around in those days, but it seemed like for a while, like I think memes and stuff are important. I know it sounds funny to say that, but I think they're important. But I also think it's important to be selective. You know what I mean? Like if you're making a mountain out of every single small issue that comes
Oh yeah,
up, it kind of degrades when an actual issue comes up. If you're always crying wolf and trying to make everything into this huge big deal just for some shares or some clicks or something. And I think for a while that got pretty bad. Like things that weren't that big of a deal or things that shouldn't have been that big of a deal got largely blown up at the expense of content. But
yeah.
I think that's gotten better over the years. I think people have kind of become more self-aware about that, I guess.
Yeah, it's a bit more self-regulating these days because like back when that was kind of new and it's like, oh, something's fucked up with this. I've never heard that before. And now it's like so common that people shit on various companies and brands and individuals. It's like there's kind of a smell test to it these days where it's like, Yeah, that guy again. Okay, everyone hates him for X reason, but whatever, you know.
Yeah. I do think like memes can be weaponized for kind of nefarious purposes, either like drawing people to or away from a company. Like I do think there's the capacity to do good with them, but like anything, it can be misused.
I mean, I think that's why I'm where I am today is memes, but
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. It's fucking weird.
No, I mean, like a lot of us saw Otter Creek's origin from the outside, but kind of what was that transition from getting out of the meme page and 'cause you let people know you were starting up a company and like via your meme page, and that was kind of the where the first followers and stuff and probably first customers came from was
Yeah,
meme page followers. But like, what was that transition like?
I did both for a little while.
Yeah.
So Otter Creek's been around like 4 years at this point, and for like the first year, I did both. I still had the meme page and Otter Creek, and then something happened where some memes that I'd made shit like 4 years ago got brought up, and it made a bunch of people really mad, and so I mean, it was some jokes that I probably shouldn't have told, but whatever. I didn't, 4 years ago, if you'd asked me 4 years ago what you're going to be doing in 4 years, I would have said probably still working at the same job, making memes. Like I didn't anticipate having a company where what I said actually had consequences. So, I had to kind of step back and reevaluate some things at that point, and I had some dealers, who were like, maybe not the best idea at this point. Like, you're a growing company, and it might be a best idea to take a step back from that kind of stuff. So, I did, but I miss it.
Well, it still peeks through kind of in the at least the character of the brand from like all the stuff you have Nathan making for you guys.
Oh, definitely in our shirts and our stickers and the art that Nathan makes us and the way I write the descriptions on the website and like our return policy on the website and it still comes
Yes.
through and that kind of stuff. But
Oh man, you have made some really fucking heinous like human error things, and I respect
oh,
that.
yeah, that's what it's about. I mean, it is what it is. In the grand scheme of things, like let's say on one suppressor we make $100 and we sell 100 of them. Out of those 100 suppressors, one of them might get fucked up by somebody doing something dumb. So it's really not that big of a deal just to eat the cost and fix it and make it right for people.
Yeah, I think
It's,
people
it's
appreciate that.
yeah, it's not worth being an asshole about. So I know I've talked about it before, but I was very poor growing up, and really all the way up until Otter Creek really took off. I was pretty poor, but I know what it's like for like somebody to work. Like, so say somebody wants something, they work tons of overtime and they'll save up for it for like months, and it's a grind to get there, and then like right before they almost have enough to get it, they'll have a flat tire on their car or something, and
Oh yeah.
they'll have to buy a new tire, and it restarts the saving process and just totally fucks up their plan. I know what shit like that's like. So if somebody saves up and they trust me enough to spend their money on something that I'm selling, I now am luckily in a position to where money almost isn't even real, and I don't care. Like, what you blew up your suppressor. Here's a new one. I don't care. I just always I want to treat people the way that I would have wanted to be treated back when I was having to work really, really hard to save up for that kind of stuff.
That's good of you. Genuinely. That's a take I wish more companies had.
And I feel like that's kind of like what we were talking about, before, and when we were just kind of chatting before we started it. Like, a lot of these companies are just owned by corporations whose only goal is just profit, profit, profit. Delivering to shareholders, things like that, and where I don't give a shit about any of that.
Yeah.
If I gotta lose some money to make somebody happy, then that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I appreciate that outlook a lot, and yeah, I guess I can talk about it here because without naming anyone, I've worked for a good amount of suppressor companies, most of which being through like a third party agency, and without saying too much, I'd say a lot of them are just owned by suits, just corpos, like
Yeah.
it's big business, and I like the idea of the little guy doing well.
And a lot of the employees, not a lot of them, I'd say all of them, all of the employees for a lot of these companies are awesome people. You know
Oh
what I mean?
yeah,
Like going around to the events and stuff and meeting the employees that work at all the suppressor companies. Everybody loves guns. Everybody. That's why we're doing what we do. We love guns. We love suppressors. We're just dudes. We can sit around a fire and just say hell yeah. Like, so you know what I mean. Like, but the owners of a lot of the companies are definitely corporations. That kind of sucks, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it's weird that disconnect exists. I mean, you see companies like Barrett getting sold to Australians. It's like,
Yeah, that was
oh
crazy.
shit.
Barrett got bought by Australians.
You didn't know that? It was pretty recent.
No,
Yeah, that
actually,
was that actually made me sad.
Yeah, because I mean, they had that. As far as I know, this is still in place, but their long-standing policy of not selling, stuff to or not maintaining weapons from departments in states that civilians can't own their arms. Like, fuck yeah,
Yeah,
that's
they were
sick.
a company who kind of like started that
Yep.
bandwagon, and the origin story of Barrett is very similar to an Otter Creek origin story. You know what I mean? It was a father and son who essentially started it in their garage,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and have done amazing things. And so to see it made me sad to see it get bought out by a big Australian company for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're kind of at this point where I really hope that's not the future of this industry in this country, but
Yeah.
it's leaning towards that a little bit with these bigger corporations buying up successful companies and kind of there's a potential for the erosion of what that company was actually about in the first place and the spirit, and even if the employees are all about it, which I hope they are, you
Yeah,
still
generally
see
the
that disconnect.
Yeah, and I mean, anybody who works a regular job knows how it is. Like, all the employees can feel some way, and the upper management's just like, well, that fucking, that sucks. Oh well,
Yep.
pizza party. Everybody want a pizza party. So there's only so much that can be done.
Yeah.
That's that's really what I like. Like, and I can't say like, I'm not gonna act self-righteous about it or anything. If a big corporation came to me tomorrow and was like, hey, we want to buy Otter Creek for $10 million, I'm fucking out of here. Like just being real. Like, I
Hey,
love
you're a family man.
I love guns and I love suppressors, but the whole point of this was to try and not be poor anymore.
Yeah. Have some independence. I mean, financial independence is like the freedom. It sucks that is what it comes down to, but having those resources is what grants freedom really these days.
yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like that would be. We've had offers for like partnerships and stuff. You know what I mean? Like companies wanting to become investors, or like especially now that 3D printing is getting popular, we've actually had two different investors offer, like, because metal 3D printers are expensive, dude.
Oh,
Like,
Inconel? Yeah.
yeah, you're looking at like bottom dollar. Like if you get like the worst one, like absolute bottom dollar, you're looking at like $1 million or more. You know what I mean?
Jeez, yeah.
And so we've had actually two separate investors offer to buy us a metal 3D printer outright, as long as they can own a certain percentage of our company in return. And we've told them both no. But I just feel like you have to be selective. You know what I mean? Like I feel like if I were going to sell, I wouldn't sell it to a company I knew was just going to who I knew was going to destroy it. I would want to know that it was going somewhere good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
someone who's
important.
just gonna wear your company like a skin suit.
Yeah, I don't want that. And I like being small because, like, right now we have 6 employees. Nobody makes less than $75,000 a year, which around here, that's a really good paying job.
Yeah.
And everybody has health insurance. We now have company car for people to share. Like, that was like a big thing when me and John first started doing this, is like, I know how it feels to be underappreciated as an employee and work your ass off and it not really matter and get shit pay. And, you're still working a job, you're working overtime and still struggling to pay bills. And we were like, if we start hiring people, we're not going to hire somebody until we are 1,000,000% sure that we can pay them enough money for them to be very comfortable. Yeah. And so that's kind of our policy, is like, we're not going to hire somebody unless we know that they're not going to feel that way.
That's awesome. So like real steady growth.
Yeah. It makes everybody's workload, hard. Like right now we have 6 employees, but we could really stand to have, 9 or 10, like with the amount of work that we have going on. But, everybody's workload's a lot higher. I'm the owner of the company, but I'm still head of quality control and I still answer all the emails and answer all the phone calls. And so everybody's workload is pretty high, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Keeps you humble though. I think that's important.
And I enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm going to, that was like my thing, for a long time, actually up until like a year ago, I was personally welding every single suppressor. And then we just got
seeing your process.
Yeah. I was personally welding every single suppressor, and it just got to the point about a year ago where I just couldn't anymore. It was too much for me to keep up with and do everything else that I needed to do. So we had to hire a person to do the welding. And that was kind of my condition, is even though they're doing all the welding, I'm still personally quality checking every single suppressor after they're done welding it. Because if I'm going to put my name on something, I want to be sure that it's not fucked up.
Absolutely. So how long have you guys been running now?
4 years. This year made 4 years.
Hell yeah. And you said it's only been a year since you started hiring employees, or?
No. We probably started hiring people about 2 years ago.
Okay.
But then about a year ago is when we brought the latest person on. We haven't hired anybody in about a year. Gotcha. But between like year 2 of being in business and year 4 of being in business, we hired like 4 people, because me and John were doing everything for a while and it just got to be too much.
I remember seeing a video of you, and I can't remember if it was posted or where it was, but pressing a baffle stack into housing with a hydraulic press.
Yeah.
And
we still do that.
Yeah, it looked so tedious. I could not imagine just being one person doing that to every single can that went through your shop.
Well, that's why it got, so I was doing that amongst other things, you know what I mean? And so we have somebody who, now it's the welder guy does that, but it's really not that bad. It was funny that we make jokes about that hydraulic press. That is a $150 hydraulic press that we bought from Harbor Freight.
Yeah, Harbor Freight Supremacy.
And it has made like 20,000 suppressors at this point, dude. It's been a tank. As far as like dollar per dollar money investment on return on investment or whatever, that machine has been a godsend.
Dude, I love Harbor Freight like way more than I fucking should. I go there a lot just because, and I always walk out with a handful of shit that I don't need, and I spent like $8 on
just steel pipe, ball bearings.
Yeah. I bought one of their jack stands in case I ever want to commit suicide over my car.
Dude, the Prius would fall on you, and it would be like, ow.
I do have the heavy one. It is 3,500 pounds. I would burst like an overripe grape.
It's funny you say that though. We have an employee, and the joke kind of is, oh, don't send him with the company card, because if you send him with the company card, he's going to buy some shit we don't need. But we sent him with the company card to Harbor Freight one day, and it was just to get like one thing. I think like an airline had busted or something like that, and we just needed to get a replacement airline to get the welder back up and running. So he was supposed to go to Harbor Freight just to get like one $2 $2 airline, and he comes back with like $50 worth of drill bits. And I was like, "What is this for?" And he was like, "They were for sale, half off." And I figured we would use them someday.
And that employee was me. That was me.
Yeah. And sure enough, we've used some of them. So yeah.
Good thinking.
I love Harbor Freight so much. So many people shit in it, and there's a lot of tools there you really shouldn't buy. The jack stands, for instance, but God,
The suicide assist jack stands.
if I want a rubber mallet or like a $3 center punch, I'm going to go there, and then I'm going to walk out with $100 worth of shit.
I love Harbor Freight too.
They're just fun. They're just fun. God, now I'm actually thinking of going there and getting a hydraulic press.
No, why are we talking? Why?
Dude, it's
a Harbor Freight podcast.
It's $150, and you can get a hydraulic press that can press like 10,000 pounds of pressure. It's insane.
That's fucking wild.
You hear that, listeners? Time for some home garage projects.
Time for you to compete with Otter Creek Labs.
At home.
All you need, and actually our first welder was from Harbor Freight too. So there you go. You want to start a suppressor company, go get a welder and a hydraulic press from Harbor Freight and start it up.
Didn't you guys, we can cut this out if it's not something you want to talk about, but in the early days, didn't you guys have some encounters with ATF agents?
No.
No.
No. So we had Queltec for a long time. That's actually how we got kind of started. So Queltec was solvent traps, totally, definitely not suppressors.
Yeah.
Definitely not. That's how we got started. And then ATF started shutting down other solvent trap companies. And we knew some other people who had got, other guys who owned solvent trap companies and stuff. We knew some guys that got visits from the ATF and stuff. And so we were like, it's probably only a matter of time before the same thing happens to us. So let's just go ahead and voluntarily shut it down instead of being mandated to shut it down. Let's go ahead and just kind of do that.
Did anyone get charged for that? Like, I saw one of the genuinely, someone texted me this out of the blue. I had no idea what it was, but their favorite solvent trap site just got shut down. Did anyone actually catch charges for manufacturing or selling?
One guy did. I'm not trying to be rude.
No,
let me Google this before I tell you wrong.
There's a lot of stuff like that where there's like a big spook about that kind of thing, and then it's like a big nothing burger.
Yeah.
I
thought. Yeah.
I'm correct. I didn't want to be disrespectful. I didn't want to be disrespectful to anybody by being wrong. So there was one guy who got charged. There was a company called Diversified Machine, and that owner got arrested and charged. And while he was out on bond, awaiting trial, he committed suicide.
That is really unfortunate.
Yeah. So the ATF charged him with illegally manufacturing suppressors, and it was looking like he was going to get a pretty hefty prison sentence for it, and he killed himself. And that's when everybody kind of started taking a step back and being like, maybe we should chill out,
Yeah, because I thought it would be one of those things where you similar to the brace thing. It's really hard to prove intent, but that being said, it's not going to stop them from going after you.
Yeah, ruining your fucking life for years.
And then my mind jumps to that guy who was manufacturing and in no way, shape, or form, legally or illegally, I'm not a lawyer, were these machine guns or machine gun parts. That guy who was selling the auto key cards, it was like a piece of metal with basically like the shape of a bendable auto sear just drawn on it. And that guy actually did catch charges and was found guilty.
Yeah, that shit was dumb.
That was crazy to me. Another crazy thing that's happened. I'll have to find the specific case for it. But I don't need to Google this one because I know I'm right. The third pinhole on M16s, where you would drill it. A guy was trying to make a clone build of an M16, and he wanted it to be as accurate as possible. So
Yeah.
he etched a third pinhole on there to make it look like it had a third pinhole, even though it didn't. It was just etched on there. He got arrested and charged with having an illegal having an illegal machine gun,
What
even
the
though
fuck?
even though it was just etched on there. And that's kind of when ATF established the precedent that carried over to the auto keycard case, because that guy actually did end up getting sentenced. He went to prison for etching a fake third pinhole on his M16, and that was used in precedent in the auto keycard case.
Holy
That's
fuck.
messed up. That is so
Yeah,
messed up. And I saw that a big part of their case too was the advertising. The like, you can use this to make
that's
this.
how it gets. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
how it gets.
Yeah, that.
When
You can't
you're
really defend that too much.
when you're talking about an intent-based case, it's the advertising that'll get you. You know,
Yeah.
what I mean?
Write that down, Nathan.
Yeah. Everything we say on this site and any future advertisements are a satire and a joke, and we don't mean any of it. This is a satirical podcast in nature, and we do not condone anything that we make jokes about ever.
Beyond that, we are just cartoon characters. We don't even have social security numbers.
Exactly. We're not even real. This is AI generated.
These are just the voices in your head.
We're in your
Getting
wall.
back to we are in your walls. Getting back to Otter Creek, how did you guys like the kind of rise of you guys' success? Like I see Otter Creek mentioned everywhere. Like it'll be RC2 and then Polonium. Like people are just it's always brought up amongst like the top tier of suppressors, which is fucking crazy. Having followed you since you were a meme page, but like
Yeah.
what was that? What was that rise kind of like? Like, was it a slow burn, or did something all of a sudden happen? Like, what was the kind of ascent for you guys?
It was slow at first, and then I think like the more people that started getting them, they were like, holy shit, this is good.
Yeah,
And so, like, really, as a company, the best advertisement you can get is people buying your stuff, because you know how it is. Like when you get something, you either go to your buddies and talk about how much you hate it and talk about how much it sucks, or you go to your buddies and talk about how awesome it is. The best advertisement you can have and the best marketing you can have is just making a quality product.
Yeah.
But like what's weird is I see people say things online like, oh, you can't compare it to an RC2 because it's not on the level of an RC2. That's accurate. And that's something that always kind of shocks people when they talk to me. I have never once said ever that the Polonium is better than an RC2. The Polonium, it's $500 versus an RC2, $1,000. And then you got to get the muzzle devices for the RC2, which are like $150 to $200 a piece. And, so that was my whole thing, is I was never trying to be better than the RC2, or I was never trying to say like, oh, we're as good as Surefire, we're as good as the RC2. My goal was to get something, the best thing that I could get people for $500. That was that we kind of worked backwards. We were like, okay, we want to make a 5.56 suppressor, and I don't want it to cost more than like $500. What do we need to do to make that happen? And we kind of built the Polonium around that initial idea of a $500 5.56 can that was as good as we could make it. And that's just because, like for me, it goes back to like, and I feel like I don't want people to think that like I'm using it as like a crutch or whatever, but
No.
I feel like it's valid because it helped me make me who I am now. Years of being poor and working a regular job, I couldn't afford $1,000 RC2. Like even if I wanted one, I had a wife and I had a kid and I had a job and I had bills, and $1,000 RC2 just kind of wasn't as feasible as a $500 suppressor. And so I wanted it to be something that was more accessible to people who wanted a suppressor but didn't want to spend RC2 money. That was kind of the whole goal behind it.
that's a killer mission. Like
Yeah. Not only a killer
to
mission.
proliferate suppressors.
I've seen your like there's no objective measure for suppressors. But I mean, we've had Jay on here, the Jay situation, who's probably the closest. And I remember yours was rated, I think, the top for 5.56 suppression. The Polonium did really fucking well in basically
Yeah,
every objective measure compared to
yeah,
much more expensive suppressors.
it was first place at muzzle for like 2 years straight.
Yeah.
And I think now even, the Polonium's coming up on being out a little over 3 years or 3 years, and I think it's still hanging on like second or third. I haven't looked, but regardless, it's the cheapest one that's in the top 10. You know what I mean? It was first for a while, but it was the cheapest one, like in the top 10. So that was the goal. The goal wasn't necessarily to be number one. The goal was just something affordable for people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
make something kick ass for the everyman.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, we wanted to. We didn't want to be, we didn't want to be like a Daniel Defense or a Noveski. We wanted to be like a PSA or like an Anderson. You know what
Which
I
is
mean?
ironic considering it did do better than most.
Yeah. It's in some metrics, and people have like valid criticisms. Like it is high back pressure. That's whenever you're talking like suppressor technology, there's all kinds of different things that go into it. If you want to make something that's quiet and you want to make something that's $500, you have to make compromises, and some of that comes from things like back pressure. And it just at some point it kind of is what it is. We're always like right now we're working on what we call our premium line, and it'll be double the price. It'll be $1,100 or $1,200, but it'll be better than the $500 one. So it's going to be like, like, hey, if you just want to spend $500, buy this one. If you have the money and you want to spend $1,200, then buy this one. Just more options.
Yeah. I like that. I think I saw one of your new suppressors on the website. It had knurling, and I know knurling's all the meme right now.
Oh no, that's the OCM5. That was actually one of our first suppressors.
Never mind. I take it back. I don't know what I'm talking about.
It's really niche. It's like a niche suppressor. Not a lot of people are familiar with. That's because it was made for the Mark 12 rifle, so it really only is made to work on like one gun. And it's not like if somebody comes up to me and they're like, hey, I want a 5.56 suppressor, I don't recommend them the OCM5. I recommend them, the Polonium or the Polonium K. But if they come up and they're like, hey, I want a suppressor for my Mark 12, then the OCM5. It's just a very like niche application kind of suppressor
For the clone guys and that's so crowd, right? Yeah.
It's kind of badass, actually.
So,
but the way I saw back pressure is your cans are mostly direct thread, yeah, or you can adapt them for anything.
You can adapt them. They're all the universal mounting system, the hub system.
Yeah. I don't know where I was going with this. I don't know enough about
honestly, that's a good opportunity because I also don't. As someone who's about to get their first suppressor, I'm like, what the fuck do I need in terms of like mounting, especially for Polonium? Like, I've got a 14.5 with a A2 birdcage, and I'm like, all right, what do I do? Like, do I need a new muzzle device for this? Do I need a specific one? Should I do direct thread? Like, what's your kind of general recommendations if I was going for the best suppression I could get?
If you're going for the best suppression you can get, we optimize all of our, or not up until this point, the Polonium. We did all of our testing and R&D around direct thread, because that's really the only variable that we can control. There's a million muzzle devices and stuff out there. But with the Polonium, for example, it's what's called universal hub threading, 1375, 24, ASR, Omega. It has like a bunch of different names people call it, but it all means the same thing. It means that the direct thread adapter comes off of the back, and you can put different adapters in there to run really whatever muzzle devices you want. So like, let's say you didn't want to take your A2 birdcage off. You wanted to just leave it on. There's an adapter to where you screw the adapter into the Polonium, and your Polonium then clamps on an A2 birdcage, and you can just shoot it like that. Or let's say you want to use direct thread, you leave the direct thread adapter and you shoot it like that. Or your favorite muzzle device is a dead air flash hider. You'd use the dead air adapter and use that. There's something crazy like 50 or 60 different combinations that work with it. Like you can use pretty much any muzzle device and mounting system that you want with it.
And like, is the trade-off, I guess, like less suppression if you have like a crazy muzzle device in there?
Not necessarily, not always. It really depends. We've done some testing with it, and we found that in general, muzzle brakes are a little bit quieter than like a flash hider. At least it depends. It's one of those things where like there isn't like one blanket answer. You know what I mean? Like if you got 5 different suppressors and 5 different muzzle brakes, and you actually test each one of them individually, you might get really unexpected results. But just as like a blanket, if you just want guaranteed, you're going to put it on there and be happy with it, direct thread is the way to go.
Yeah, that's something I've been pining for it forever, because I grew up shooting with suppressors. So like, haven't been in the US for years at this point. I'm like, fuck, I really want something that's like safe for the ear again, honestly. Like that would be that would be a godsend. I've missed it so much, but it's such a nightmare.
It is weird how regulated they are here.
Yeah.
It is. So I don't know a whole lot about you or BR.
Yeah.
Like, is it okay to like tell me about you, like where you're from, why? So I know Nathan, me and him have talked about it, but I don't know much about you.
Yeah, I'm a Brit Bong, unfortunately, from the southeast of England. So I grew up kind of doing a lot of hunting, lots of, shooting 22s, shooting 308, 223, 30-06, like a lot of those kind of calibers. I don't want to go on too long, but that's kind of the general gist of my shooting experience. It's like I'd visited the US plenty of times and like handled all sorts of good stuff over here, but really only got into deep into it once I'd been over here. So
what made you want to move over here?
gun rights, wanting,
Based.
like wanting to be able to carry things of that nature, like in general a lack of freedom.
I know you all have probably covered this before, so I'm sorry, but I just find I just find it fascinating. So did you just decide one day you're going to move to the US, or did you come up with like a game plan first and find a job first, or like what was that process like?
So long story short, I was looking at joining the British military, and then I started doing my officer training, and I was like, these guys are all cucks. Like, no one actually believes in their rights. None of these people are gun people the same way I am. Like, it was just fucking soulless, and I was like, all right, I don't really feel any attachment to go through with this, and like, this isn't really honestly, the brutal opinion was, this is not a country worth, selling your soul to the government for. So I walked away from that and worked night shift for about half a year, and then saved up and moved to the US and figured it all out from there, basically.
Like, what are you doing in work wise?
I work in the industry now. I moved to Arizona. I was out there doing graphic design until I could get a foothold as a graphic designer in the gun industry, and now I'm working with a company that's much more our kind of speed. So,
cool. That's awesome.
I remember the first company you worked for, who I will not name here. But,
dude, I wanted to name drop them so bad.
I want to name drop them so bad, but it's not my place. But the owner, and you obviously can cut this out if you have to.
So you can.
He thought only no one put weapon lights in their weapons, and refused to cater to anyone that did, because he thought that those people were imaginary.
Yeah, I'll say this in a broad sense. I worked for a holster company, a very outdated holster company.
A very outdated but popular holster company. I think
a weirdly popular company, but they believe that people put optics on their guns, but they don't carry with weapon lights. Only police carry weapon lights. So they've got like one Kydex holster that can fit like a TLR 1. and everything else they do is like no lights on anything. Which so I I couldn't carry using any of their holsters the whole time I worked there, which was fucking maddening. They'd ask my opinion. I'm like, don't know. I don't use our shit. I can't. Like modernize it, then I'll run it. And they never did. I was like, I'm not gonna take my fucking light off my gun. So
That's so fucking funny.
So does a lot of your family still live there, or all of your family still live there?
yeah. A lot of them. My parents moved to New Zealand because they were also over it. It was right before the pandemic, so I told them, I was like, New Zealand is just as much a communist country, and they were like, okay. They went out there, and well, we saw what happened to them over COVID.
Oh yeah, no, New Zealand got fucked.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's just cool to me. Like, I guess I've never really talked to, I'm blessed because I live in the country. You know what I mean? But at the same
Kentucky's
time,
beautiful.
like, I've never really talked to anybody that's moved here from somewhere else.
That's funny. Now you're talking to two freedom refugees.
Yeah, there's a certain
That's
irony
cool.
to that.
That's cool.
It's one of those things. Like I grew up in the countryside too, and like there's so few Brits who grow up shooting. Like it was just a natural part of my upbringing was going hunting with my dad, going shooting, doing pest control for like pocket money as a kid. You know, like shooting rabbits with a suppressed 22. I missed that fucking 22. It was like a nice little CZ. Yeah, all that kind of upbringing. It's so alien to the majority of people in that country, and they, even having those kind of guns, which are absolutely tools. Like 308, you're controlling deer in farmers' fields, you're fucking it up, and same thing with rabbits. But even owning those things is like people think you're psychotic when they figure out that you own guns, you shoot, whatever it is. So just growing up around that culture my whole life, I was just fucking sick of it. So yeah, that was kind of the. I knew I couldn't put down permanent roots there. Like I knew I didn't want to, meet the love of my life and then be like, hey, you want to move to the US with me? Because I knew that wasn't going to happen. I was like, I need to build a foundation somewhere, even if, government still sucks ass in this country, absolutely. But there's a bit more space to do what you want.
Yeah, it sucks ass in a different way.
Yeah.
I think that's just government everywhere, though.
Like, no, 100%.
Everywhere's going to suck in a different way. But I guess all things considered, we probably take more for granted than we should.
I mean, you at least have the breathing room to get away with more stuff, and that's the beautiful thing about this country is that, along with the rebellious natural culture Americans have from day one. Even doesn't matter if they're necessarily like even into guns. There is just a general rebellious nature to the majority of Americans in one way or another, which is so much nicer to be around than a bunch of fucking lemmings.
Oh, dude, yeah. I think Canada's kind of similar in that way. Maybe not quite far gone, but it's like the "fuck you, don't do what you tell me" attitude just doesn't exist there, where it does here.
Yeah.
I see. I like Canada. I don't think I could ever move there, but I like it there. I think me and you have talked about this before.
When's the last time you've been in Canada?
Good point. I was probably 11 or 12.
There you go. It was, if it's pre-2020.
Yeah, it's got like, and I say this having lived there. Like I liked Canada too at one point. Before I was as formed as an adult as I am, but visibly it's gotten worse since I left. And I get messages from friends that are still there, being like, "Hey, don't come back." Don't come back. Like, it's worse. And then they send me videos of just like hobo wars from my old town, and like they have like entrenched fighting positions, and just like I'm not even going to get into the political aspect because that's all just a shit show. But the poverty has manifested itself in some really fucking funny ways.
That's great. Yeah, I haven't been there in a long time. I think me and you've talked about it before. My grandma and grandpa used to have a house there.
Yeah, we have.
They would live. Yeah, they would. Cagawan Lake is what they live beside Cagawan Lake in Canada. I don't know where exactly that's at, but
I actually have no idea. I'm going to look it up.
Yeah, Lake Cagawan.
Cagawong, Ontario. Okay.
Okay, yeah, they had a house there, and they would live half the year there and half the year in the U.S. And I would go and stay with them when I wasn't like in school or whatever, and I always really enjoyed it there.
Oh, it's a gorgeous country. It's
Yeah.
much like California. Like it's a damn shame there is a government there because otherwise that place is beautiful.
Yeah. That's the big thing. I think if you live somewhere rural enough where the city problems don't matter a ton and you don't really care enough about, I don't know, being able to access a doctor or have a rifle, then you might be okay. But God,
Yeah, I'll never be okay with that again.
yeah,
I'll either creatively censor this or just cut it out entirely. But I am determined to acquire a England. It will happen. It will happen.
Didn't that magnetic gun law just sunset? No longer active?
Magnetic gun law? The
Okay,
fuck?
so for a long time, since like what are federal sunset laws, like 20 years or something like that? I
something
can't
like that.
remember.
Yeah.
Um, but so a long time ago, like a long time ago, a law was passed in the U.S. that a gun manufacturer could not make a gun out of all parts that were non-magnetic because a metal detector, like at an airport or a courthouse or something like that, had to be able to pick it up. Recently, that law sunset and didn't get renewed. So now in theory, it should be legal to make a gun that's completely undetectable by any kind of metal detector.
Yeah.
Based.
I thought they renewed it, but I guess not.
Maybe I could be wrong. Oh fuck! If I'm wrong, I'm really sorry. I thought it
Oh,
sunset.
you're okay.
I'm gonna Google it.
Fact check that.
I don't want to tell anybody wrong.
Fact check that, Jeremy. Jamie. Fuck. I don't. I don't.
Jeremy.
Jeremy.
I don't know. I'm not seeing anything come up on Google. I don't know. Just maybe cut that part. I don't want to tell anybody anything wrong. I thought it sunset though, but maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool though about hearing you move to the U.S. and stuff. That's cool.
It's
That takes balls to do. Like I don't even have the balls to move to a different state. Like I would love to move.
you have no need to, man.
I really want to move to Tennessee. I would love to live in Tennessee.
It's gorgeous. I fucking love the Smokies.
Yeah, me and John have both talked about that. Like, if we ever wanted to move the business to a different state, it would be to Tennessee. But just like all my family's here and stuff, and so
That's the thing. Like, what I'm envious of all my American friends is the fact that like having been born here, they have like connections and history and like all of that stuff. Like that's so important. And to just say fuck it and move to a different country to pursue the lifestyle you want, like I'll agree it is ballsy because I was like I don't know if this is gonna fucking work or not.
Yeah.
But like man, it sucks not having all of that stuff. Like when me and my lady start our family, like she has family in the U.S., but it's on the other side of the country now, so it's not like we can drive down the road to have grandparents, look after kids or our parents.
that's definitely important. I mean, that's a very underthought about thing when it comes to parenting. Like you need a break sometimes. Like
Yeah.
you just do. It's me and my wife, we set aside one day a week every Saturday. We take the kids to my mom and dad's for like 2 hours, and we go eat dinner together, or we'll go bowling or something like that. We just set aside 2 hours every week where we can get away without the kids. And man, some weeks that's the only thing that keeps me.
Yeah.
But dude, it's that it takes a village and those support systems and stuff. Like I mean, I'd love to homeschool our kids so they don't have to do any of this bullshit they're doing in public schooling. But it's like fuck, like everyone I know who would love to do that are just they're so spun up just trying to survive and make ends meet. It's like it is a luxury unless you can unless you have a wide enough support system to make it work, which is doable, but you have to have it established.
Yeah, I agree. I'd really like to send my kids to like a private Christian school or something like that. But unfortunately, like the only one that's close to us is like 30 or 45 minutes away. And it's just not practical for me to drive them there every morning and pick them up. It's kind of throws a wrench in that idea.
Yeah, I can't exactly do remote work doing QC. Like,
Yeah.
hey, move the phone a little closer. Yeah, that's right.
I've done it before. If I'm
Oh, really?
away on a business trip or something, and he'll FaceTime me and be like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" That's fine.
Connection's bad. Looks good. So how did you get into machining?
I don't know shit about machining.
Oh, okay. Like, how'd you get into like making suppressors then?
That's John.
Oh, okay.
So I own half the company. John owns the other half of the company.
Gotcha.
John hates doing stuff like this. He doesn't do social media. He doesn't do podcasts. He's a little bit different than me in that aspect, I guess. But a lot of people don't realize that John is the glue that holds this company together in that aspect. Is he does all the smart guy work. So John is a machinist and he's an engineer. And before working at Otter Creek, he worked for a company called Neff Robotics, and he designed robots and automation and worked on nuclear submarines and did all kinds of crazy cool stuff. And he is the one who handles that side of things. I can weld, I'm a welder, but so John handles all of like anything that involves math, machining, engineering, all that important. I call it smart guy work. John does all the smart guy work, and then it's my job to make sure that everything after the smart guy work gets done. You know what I mean? Like as far as getting them put together, getting the final QC done, getting them sold, dealer communication, customer communication, all that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
So yeah, none of this would work without John.
That seems to be kind of a recurring theme in this industry. Is like two buddies get together to make a company. We were just talking to CEO of Agency Arms, and he was like, same thing. Like, he's like, yep, I come and do the talking, and other guy is he's the artist doing all the CAD stuff and like the genius boy stuff.
Yep, John he's the smart one. I would not be anywhere without John, for sure.
Damn, Nathan, I hate to tell you, but I think you're the smart one out of us.
That's a problem. That's a
I
fucking
know.
problem.
I know. I was like, which one of us is that?
Dude,
Nathan.
I'm incredibly retarded, so that's not a good. That's not a good thing.
Yeah, but dude, you're the Asian, so you gotta take on the maths work. I can't do that shit.
Dude, that the white part of me won in that regard.
Oh fuck!
And it's like the white part of me is from like rural New Brunswick, so like I don't know fuck about fuck, dude. I'm running under the assumption you're the smart one this entire time.
Oh fuck! No. I'm not sure if we've touched on this on the show before, but
your accent makes you sound distinguished.
That helps a lot. People presume I know what I'm talking about. Just if I know I'm in a situation where I need to really lay it on thick, I'll enunciate everything, really get into it. But I'm like, dude, I'm a fucking country boy who likes guns. Like this is just cover. But no, for people who don't know, for longest time, all of the Seaburn merch was selling like at a loss.
Oh, it was at a loss, and you add like $100 of like Shopify and hosting and all of those fees every month. Like we were losing a significant amount of money keeping a store open. We're still losing money.
$30,000 of credit card debt. It was like Nathan tells me this. I'm like, how long has it been like this? Oh, a while.
How did that end up happening? Just the
I think
inflation happened, and it was like never selling for really much profit to begin with, like a couple of bucks. But you know, when 2021, 2022, everything jacked prices, our producers, which were just like a private like print house, like Printify, like a big corporate one. We're switching to a smaller one that are actually made up like cool people who listen to the show and kind of about it. But the Printify raised their prices significantly and I just didn't check the emails. So things were selling at a loss for a while.
He told me this, I was like, oh my fucking god.
And you call me the smart one.
Do you all actually, I know, kind of on topic, do you all have a recommendation for shirt printing places?
Yes, we go with now, and we're doing a call to iron everything out. SO Expressions.
SO Expression.
_ Expressions. They reached out because they listened to the show, and they're awesome. Like that
should tell you everything that you need to know.
Send me a page or send me their info.
Yeah,
if you don't care.
No.
We've just, for like all of our merch on our website, we've just been using like Vistaprint. You know what I mean? Like go online, plug it into Vistaprint, and like the last couple batches of shirts we got, we haven't been like super happy with the quality.
Yeah.
But then you try and talk to somebody, and they're just like, "That sucks."
Yeah. those people are fucking awful.
If it gives you an idea of like how fucking cool these guys are, they sent us a couple of
like sample
shirts, which I still have to send you yours because they're just here. I probably will have worn it by the time you got it. They're amazing, but also it came with a bunch of schizophrenic shit. Like on the box, it just said in big letters, "I hate Italians," and there was like a bunch of loose brass and Gen 2 PMEG with laser engraved in the side. If you don't listen to Art and War, you're gay.
I need to get that box into John. John's Italian.
Yes.
They're fucking awesome, and they're very funny individuals. They also sent me their rad scores, and they both passed.
They both passed.
Yeah,
they passed. You
for
failed.
sure. Get me their info. I want to hit them up and start having them print our merch. Then that'd be nice.
Yes,
that's the move. Is keeping all that kind of business within the community rather than shipping it off to like
for sure
some big corpo rad.
Yeah, I used to do some like Printify or something for my stuff a few years ago, and they fucking banned me for like hate speech. And I was like, what the fuck? It was in the middle of all of the boog memes. It was some bullshit like floral design or something, and they're like banned for hate content. I was like, the fuck? It was because of like the Vice articles saying it was all like white supremacist bullshit. It's like, sick, thank you. This was the only thing helping me pay rent.
No, my biggest problem is I don't know anybody. You know what I mean? I just Googled printed shirts in bulk and like just clicked on the first one that come up. And I'm like, all right, this is good. You know what I mean?
I feel like that's what most people do. That's what I did initially. I didn't think there was anyone that could do fulfillment kind of like in this world. And I was proven wrong, so I'm really happy about that.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely anybody that you know, like stickers, shirts, anybody you know that does that kind of stuff, give me their info because we'd love to work with them. Right now, like
I just sent you their info on Instagram.
Awesome, badass. Thank you.
No worries.
Yeah, right now we still like our box foam, and I've been trying to I try and keep everything U.S. produced as much as I can. Right now, currently, the only thing not produced in the U.S. is our boxes for our suppressors.
Oh, damn, that's it?
Yeah, that's it. There's our boxes. That's because, I could not find a U.S. company that would give me a good quote on boxes. They were wanting to charge me like $10 or $15 a piece for suppressor boxes, and which isn't a big deal if you're talking about one or two, but when you're talking about, we ordered, 6,000-7,000 at a time, whereas Chinese people, they hooked it up for like $3 a box. You know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to pass up, but still I would love to find a U.S. company that could make our boxes.
Yeah.
So anyone listening here, if somehow, because
if you own a box making company,
every time we've been like, hey, if anyone makes shirts, if anyone does something, like someone has messaged and been good at it. So if you
anybody listening to this, to anybody listening to this, I understand that you will not be able to charge me $3 a box because you don't have some 10-year-old Chinese kid out there making them. I understand. I don't expect $3 a box, but if we can get better than $15 box, we can talk about it.
That's kind of the cool thing about this show is like just plugging people into each other. It's odd how much that's happened from
Yeah, it's
this,
really
like just
small
randomly.
Yeah, I mean, I've met some great connections and people on the internet. It's crazy.
Yeah. Dude, like most of that's why last year SHOT was such a culture shock. That was my first time meeting most of those people and like the industry at large. And it was so natural. Everything just flowed right into each other.
Yeah.
Great.
Nathan, we don't want to hear about the show after party.
Nah,
Oh,
I've done that before, like my Instagram stories. I'll put up like an Instagram story like, hey, is anybody here like a material engineer, or is anybody here a metallurgist, or hey, is anybody here like an actual, chemical scientist? And I've had people reach out to me like, hey, I follow you and I'm a scientist. What's up?
How the fuck?
Like, how do you follow me? It's cool.
That's so fucking cool. There's so many people in this industry that you just don't think about. We've got messages from people who work in some of the most interesting, weird industries that have nothing to do with fucking guns, but like the people who kind of keep the world together, and I kind of love that.
It is, stuff like that is definitely cool. I love getting to meet and talk to people, and like I'm a people person. You know what I mean? I love just sitting down and just bullshitting and talking to people.
Yeah.
That's why I do what I do. John is not a people person. Me and him have talked about it before. Like, okay, you're not allowed to talk to customers because, like, a customer will ask a question. Like, the customer would ask a question, and he just has like no filter and like doesn't understand, and he'll just say something like, "Well, that's a stupid fucking question. Why would you ask that?" I'm like, no, you can't say that. You gotta. So I'm the people person, and John is the smart person, and that's why we complement each other really well.
I love that though. I still can't get over the fact you said I was the smart one, dude. What the fuck?
It's the messes.
Dude, Nathan here's the thing. Nathan will just teach himself how to do something in like 24 hours and then be like, "Oh, I'm so retarded." I'm like, you learn how to do animation. Yeah. You can't. Like, autism is a superpower, and you harness yours to an impressive degree.
Thank
like
you. It's my biggest weapon and my worst enemy.
John is also like mildly on the spectrum, but he's like that too. So a cool John story. We wanted a laser welder recently, and so if you don't know anything about laser welders, they're extremely expensive. About the cheapest you can get a laser welder is like 120 grand. Like you are going to pay for a laser welder.
Is it like one of those automated kind of setups, or is it handheld still? Yeah.
Yeah. And John, he used to work in robotics and automation, and he's a mechanical engineer, and he's like the smartest person I know. He's like, give me a couple days and let me research this, and I bet I can figure out how to make us one. He did, dude. He spent like a couple hours researching and did a bunch of reading and came back to me like a couple days later, and he's like, okay, look, it's not cheap, but I figured out I can make us a fully functional laser welder just like the one you go and buy for like 30 grand.
Holy fuck.
You can save us $90,000. Okay, do it.
Yeah.
So, and then he'll be like, "Oh, I'm retarded." And I'm like, "What? You just designed a laser."
I just love that this is a man who went from working on robotics and can design, like, build one of these from the ground up, and at the same time, this man works at a company whose company vehicle has an otter, or is gonna have an otter on the side with humongous tits.
He hates it too, dude. He hates it. Me and him are polar opposites when it comes to that. I remember this is a funny story, Nathan. When you first made the Otter Girl, so John is, I'm not talking bad about John or talking bad about anybody. I don't want this to be perceived as that whatsoever. John's family is very, very Catholic, conservative,
Oh, no.
very, very Catholic, conservative Christians.
Oh my God, yeah.
And so when you made us the Otter Girl big tit logo, and I started selling the stickers on the website. John called me one day and he's like, "Hey man, I don't want you to make fun of me and I don't want you to make a big deal out of it, but my mom Google searched our company and saw the big tit Otter Girl logo and wants you to not sell those."
That's so fucking funny.
Like, oh, bless her heart. I'm sorry.
Did you take them down? Are they still on your site?
No, they're still there.
Okay, they're down. They're not
Yeah,
down.
I mean, the conversation is like, I'm sorry. I am what I am. My parents put up with it.
That's so fucking funny. My mind jumps to when my mom found out about the podcast. But thankfully, I think she got the picture pretty fast and just stopped. Like, she just cut herself off.
Just stopped asking questions. Is like my son. He's not a doctor. He's he's something else.
So, oh god.
Parents are funny, dude. I love my mom and dad. My dad, he's a funny dude. He says like strangely weirded backhanded compliments to me all the time. Things like, out of all my sons, I never thought you'd be the successful one.
Like, thanks, Dad. me neither.
When he figured out, so like I didn't tell my dad anything like he might about like what I do or anything like that. And I guess somebody was talking to my dad one day and were like, "Oh yeah, like people on the internet love your son. Like your son has a huge internet following." And my dad's like, "I don't understand why people on the internet like you so much." Like,
Immediately finds a picture of you with a dildo on your head.
Yeah, thanks, Dad. Love you too.
Yeah, I just don't get what they see. Great, thanks.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, no, I don't get what they see. I never thought you'd be successful.
Yeah.
No, it's funny. I was like a real quiet kid, and I told my parents, I was like, yeah, like every week I interview people, and they're like, what the fuck? Where did that come from? I'm like, just make it up for lost time. I spent so long not talking to people. I'm like, now I just don't shut up, I guess. So you mentioned the premium line of suppressors, but do you guys have anything else going on coming up?
Our focus has mostly been on the premium line lately. And then we would also really like to do a Gen 2 Polonium. We've talked about doing that sometime, like starting to work on one sometime at like the end of 2024 or something like that. And, Gen 2s are something that like I feel a certain way about, but like, I feel like I don't want to make people mad. You know what I mean? Like anybody who's bought one until this point, I don't want to come out with a Gen 2 and then be like,
Bye.
Am I still? I don't want to come out with a Gen 2 and then anybody who's bought like a current one be like, oh, now the one I have is useless or anything. No, it's not anything like that. But like, whenever we designed the Polonium, like we were not selling very many suppressors. And so we designed it in such a way, manufacturing like 30 or 40 of something at a time is very different than manufacturing 3 or 4,000 of something at a time. And so when we designed it with like making like 40 or 50 at a time because we did not expect to sell like 8,000 of them like we have at this point. Like we never saw that coming. And so, now we're looking at like, okay, so now that we know how many we're selling, maybe we should take a step back and reconfigure some things to make these a little bit easier to make and stuff like that. So starting to work on a Gen 2 is something that we're looking at, and I think we could get the price even lower, honestly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That would be incredible.
No, I don't want to raise prices. My goal is to, like, some companies do price increases or stuff. I want to figure out how to keep getting the price lower. So, if we start working on a Gen 2 of something and we make it a little bit more manufacturing friendly now that we know the volume that we're working with, I think I could create a product that's just as good or better, but make it cheaper.
That is impressive considering how much just the raw cost of stuff has gone up in the last couple of years.
Yeah, and and it's gone up for us too. And people have asked me about that, like, a lot of suppressor companies have done price increases and stuff, and we haven't. And people have asked me like why that is, and it's just because we're just eating the cost on it. You know what I mean? Like cost of material goes. So let's say the cost of material goes up $10. Surefire raises the cost of their suppressor $10, whereas we just accept that we're now making $10 less. And that's just because I don't want to raise the price on anything. You know, I would rather save money by improving manufacturing techniques and being able to manufacture more faster and things like that and make up for it without having to raise the cost.
And that's
That is
like
really
crazy impressive when you're keeping you guys paid as good as you are. Like,
Yeah, no, I mean it's a blessing, and it's all just because we don't have shareholders and investors and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like we
money's
don't
not
have.
being siphoned off.
Yeah, we don't have a dude who owns 25% of the company being like, hey, where's my 25% cut? You know what I mean? Like we don't have anything like that going on. Like we just make sure everybody's paid good, and all that good stuff. So I like it.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think anyone, like the whole thing about people getting upset over Gen 2s. It's kind of funny. Like I noticed this with the Cloud Defensive Rain. Like they had that 1.0, and I didn't pick that up because I wasn't familiar with them yet. And then the 2.0 came out, and I picked that up because I needed a new light. And I bought that, and then like real soon after the 2.0, they came out with the 3.0, and
Remember
everyone's
that?
like, "Oh fuck, my 2.0, I guess it's just junk now." It's like, dude, it's a fucking excellent light still. Like, are you smoking crack? It is no less effective than it was because there is a new generation now. I mean, that's just innovation. Like, do you want people to stagnate, or do you want them to keep on pushing?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's the point. Like, for me, I reached like a moral conundrum, I guess. Let's say we have a better design. Let's say like we can release a Polonium Gen 2 tomorrow that's better than what we have right now. We don't, but this is hypothetical. Let's just say I have one that I could release tomorrow that's better.
Yeah.
Would it be better of me to hold it and not release it and keep selling something that I know isn't as good as it could be? Or would it be better just to go ahead and release it and risk pissing off the Gen 1 guys? So, it's kind of a balancing act, I guess. I don't want to make anybody mad, but at the same time, I don't ever want to not be the best I can be.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, like early adopters, they do everything for a small company just starting out. But like, if you believe in the company and believe in kind of what their mission is, like you can only be happy when things are kind of stepped up to the next level.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so for us, we've just so the Polonium's been out 3 years now. We've been around for 4 years now. We'd only been a company for about a year before the Polonium came out. And when the Polonium came out, we were still pretty fucking poor, and it was just me and John. And we were only able to dedicate like $6,000 to research and development. So it was like, okay, we take $6,000. We have $6,000 to come up with the best design that we can. Now, if we wanted to come out with a Gen 2 Polonium, now we can spend $60,000. You know what I mean, and come up with something way better. And so it's just a growth company growth thing, and the market is just very different. Like the market is going more towards low back pressure. That's like what more and more people are wanting is low back pressure, low back pressure, low back pressure. 3 years ago, it wasn't that way. 3 years ago, people, oh, low back pressure cans suck. They're loud. I don't want it. And so when we made the Polonium 3 years ago, we purposely didn't make it low back pressure because that's not what the market wanted. Now, 3 years later, the market has changed a little bit. And so, to keep up with what current customers want and to keep up with the way the market's going, we might need to do a redesign at some point. And so that's something we've been talking about starting, at some point this year.
I think that is a really good idea, especially like I don't think back pressure matters too much as long as it's especially if you direct thread it and just gas it to whatever system you're using. But you're right when I say that is what people seem to be prioritizing now.
Yeah, and I mean it's because of the military. I mean, the consumer market a lot of the time follows whatever the military and law enforcement market does. You know what I mean? That's why the RC2s got as popular as they did. And so now, like a lot of the military contracts that are being put out, you know, they have low back pressure requirements, and all the suppressors that are winning contracts nowadays are low back pressure suppressors. And so that's just the way the market's going, and that's what customers want. And that's my job, is to figure out what customers want and give that to them. So it's something that we're constantly working on, and it's something that's definitely been incorporated into the premium line that we're working on already. And so I'm excited for that to come out.
Yeah, it's gotta be nice to have that freedom to be able to push for products like that now that the budget isn't kind of like make or break. Like if it's not a success, company
Yeah,
fucks.
exactly. So, you know, whenever we made the Polonium and we were a year in, we were in that position where, like, if we put money into this product and it doesn't do well, like, you know, we're kind of fucked. But now it's like, you know, we can afford to really take some time and to just be better. To just, yeah, I love the Polonium, but with the Polonium, realistically, you got the best suppressor that I could design you that cost $500 with a $6,000 design budget. That's what you got at the end of the day. And so now I think I could do a better job, and so I would like to start down that path.
Hell yeah. That's it's exciting stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with over the next few years. Are you guys nothing? You guys doing any presenting at shop, or you just there?
No, we're just there hanging out.
That's awesome. We're gonna have to hang.
Yeah, I don't want to do a big booth or anything, dude. Having a booth there is expensive as fuck.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Yeah, like right now, I look at it as like right now we're back ordered like 700 suppressors. You know what I mean? So we're negative 700 on our stock levels. What good is spending $10,000 on a SHOT Show booth going to do me? I don't have any suppressors to sell you.
Yeah, get another 1,000 deep for 10 grand.
I don't want to add another 1,000 to our negative stock level. So, I'm just going to be there hanging out, just walking around, chilling, meeting people that I've only ever talked to on the internet and stuff like that. It'll be fun.
Nice. Hell yeah. Well, looking forward to seeing you, man.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. We all need to get together. We're going to go. I'm treating it mostly as a vacation. Like I'm definitely going to do some business stuff there, but I'm mostly just there to hang out with people and bullshit.
That's a good way to look at SHOT Show, I think. Like that makes it infinitely more enjoyable.
Yeah, I don't like drinking, so you know I know some of the people go to the bar and get like sloppy drunk, and it's fun to go and people watch. Yeah. Like last year when we went, we just hung out like I don't know 20, 30 feet back from one of the bars, and we just hung out and watched everybody get drunk. And I don't know, dude, I don't know who it was. I wish I knew who it was, but when we were bar watching and people watching last year, this really, really rankety looking, it was obviously a prostitute.
Vegas.
Walked up to somebody at the bar and started chatting them up, and then they left together. And it's just, and it was some industry dude. I don't know who it was, but he was very obviously an industry dude with, you know, the military pants on and the 9-line apparel shirt. And
come on, man.
It was very obviously an industry dude that just left with some random prostitute. I just enjoy watching stuff like that. Dude, it's hilarious.
SHOT Show vibes. I'm excited.
So, what would you like to happen to and you mentioned like the PSA comparison a little while ago. What would you like to happen to the suppressor industry over the next like 5 or 10 years? Because that got me into thinking about the whole common use thing, and like the fact that you're pricing suppressors for the everyman makes me think about that a little bit. What would you like to happen to the way that the public kind of perceives suppressors, and what you'd like to happen to generally the industry?
Unfortunately, I'm not to be negative about it or anything, but I do not believe that the government would ever let the suppressors fall into common use. I don't believe that the NFA will ever be repealed. I don't believe that they'll ever fall into common use. And I think that right now, the situation that we're dealing with is as good as it's going to get.
Yeah, that's kind of the consistent take that we get from people in the industry.
Yeah, I don't, you know what I mean? Because we're having to fight. We're having to fight every year just to hold on to what we do have. They're definitely going to let us have more. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Maybe I'm overly negative thinking about it that way, and I try not to be pessimistic, but that's how I look at it. I see that as being a pipe dream, and I don't see it as ever happening. But so I just don't know. That's how I look at that part of it. But as far as the industry goes, I just want to see everybody be more honest. So that's like why a lot of people like us is because like we try and shoot straight with people. Whereas, if you, and we've tested this, we've personally tested this, we'll go onto a manufacturer's website and we'll see the decibel numbers that they claim on their website. We'll buy that suppressor and then we'll test that suppressor ourselves. And some manufacturers are pretty honest about it. And some manufacturers are obviously lying, like big time lying. And it's stuff like that really bugs me. And it doesn't necessarily bug me because I feel like they're costing me sales, because I don't feel that way. It bugs me because the average consumer doesn't know enough about it to see past things like that. And I feel like they're cheating hardworking people out of their money by not being honest. Yeah. And that bugs me. So that's, I would really like to see, I think Jay is a great first step. I think the industry needs a testing standard that can be verified and double checked and everybody abides by. And it's a level playing field where you're not getting companies lying about performance.
Yes.
That's the biggest improvement I would like to see over the next couple of years. And I feel like we're moving in the right direction. And there's some companies that are still fighting it really, really hard. And I don't believe it's a coincidence that the companies are fighting it really hard are the companies that just don't make great stuff. So that's the biggest improvement I would like to see personally.
Oh yeah, no, I mean I think we feel exactly the same way. As like there are many snake oil salesmen in an industry that it's life preserving gear, a lot of this stuff, or stuff that's meant to be in defense of life and liberty, and then you're gonna fucking lie about its capabilities. Like that's all well and good for clothing or like other just pointless bullshit that doesn't have the same weight in a person's life, but like life preserving tools, do not fucking lie about that stuff. Like be honest about what you've got or get the fuck out of the industry.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, it's a life-saving tool, but like, I just look at it as like, if a company lists their product as being able to do 133 decibels, but then we buy it and it really tests at like 140, and there's like a 7 decibel difference between what they're claiming and what it does. That's not risking somebody's life. You know what I mean? Somebody isn't going to die over that, but it's just scummy and just not honest. And, I don't think any amount of money is worth just selling your soul over and being shitty like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I would like to see more companies adopt that thought process, but I don't, because like we talked about earlier, most of them are big corporate companies. You know what I mean? Amazon doesn't give a fuck about you. And so a lot of these companies are the same way. So we'll see, but I'd like to see it. I'd like to see that improve. Okay, so who was it that wanted to ask dad questions? I love
dad
that.
advice. It's how we end every show. We ambush our guest with providing some dad advice to our listeners.
Dad advice. Well, I will say I feel like a terrible dad a lot of the time. I mean, I feel like most parents might feel the same way, but yeah, because I work a lot. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's because, my kids don't know this yet, but they'll have when they turn 18 and they want to go to college or whatever, they're both going to have savings accounts with $100,000 in them. You know what I mean? They're going to be able to use that to buy their own house with, to start their own business with, you know. So I feel like a bad dad a lot of the time, because I'm like, I should be hanging out with my kid right now, but instead I'm working. But man, just it's the small things. It's the small things that the kids love. Like my little girl has a favorite chocolate bar, and so I'll stop by a gas station sometimes and I'll grab that chocolate bar for her on the way home to work, and I'll give it to her when I walk in the door, and it just that makes her day. Or her favorite thing to do is go to the playground. So I'll get home and I'll just be like, all right, we're going to the playground. Let's go. And just doing small things that they really enjoy. Make your time with them count. A funny story about my little girl, and this is a pro level parenting tip for anybody out there. My little girl's at the age where she's losing teeth now, and the tooth fairy's coming. So the first tooth that she lost, the tooth fairy gave her a $10 bill. And she woke up the next morning and was really disappointed because the tooth fairy only gave her $1. She didn't understand. She didn't understand that it was a $10 bill. She just saw a single bill and was like, the tooth fairy only gave me $1. The tooth fairy ripped me off. So the next time she lost a tooth, I brought her 10 $1 bills. That made her even happier. And then, so I kind of like got it at that point. Like, okay, she is, in her brain, she's registering the amount that is there as being more money. So the next tooth she lost, I went and got quarters. And then she was even happier. And the next tooth that she lost, I went and got dimes. And so it got to I was given, the tooth fairy was giving her buckets of like pennies, you know what I mean? And that made her the happiest kid in the world, because it was $10 in pennies instead of $10 in bills. And then for Christmas I bought her a piggy bank, and so she's been keeping all of her tooth fairy money in the piggy bank. I don't know, I love being a dad. I feel like
It sounds like you're a good dad. Like that.
I feel like a bad dad a lot of the time, just because I have to work. But I definitely get to see my kids more than when I had a real job, and that sucks. Like, my little girl. So, like, for people that don't know, before Otter Creek, I was working a real job. I worked for Toyota in the engine department. I was building engines for Toyota cars, and I had to work a lot of overtime, and so, like, I missed a lot of firsts with my daughter, like her first words, her first steps. I was at work for all of that. And I was very lucky that by the time my wife was pregnant with our son, Otter Creek had taken off enough. So I was still working my job. When my wife was pregnant with our son, there was about a year period of time where I was working my real job, and then coming home after my real job and doing Otter Creek stuff, and then doing Otter Creek stuff on the weekends. There was a time where I had both jobs because Otter Creek still wasn't making enough money for it to be my full-time job. And my wife had complications during pregnancy with my son, and she ended up in the hospital for a month. And we thought that she was going to lose the baby, and things were not looking good. And my job was just being a real piece of shit about it. They were like, look, we know your wife's in the hospital. They had to take her to a big hospital that was like over an hour away. So it's not like we were just right down the road. We were at like a big state hospital an hour away is where they had her put up at. And so my job was being like a big piece of shit about it. Like, you got to come into work or we're going to fire you and stuff like that. And so finally I just said, fuck you. I quit. I ain't coming back. And then at that point, that's kind of when Otter Creek started to take off, because at that point I didn't have a choice but to make it take off. As long as I had my real job, I had a cushion, and it was like that cushion's gone now. So I guess we're rolling with it. Yeah. I guess we're fucking rolling. Let's go. And but that turned out to be a blessing in a lot of ways, because now like I was able to be there for all the stuff that I missed with my daughter, like his first words and his first steps, and all that kind of stuff that I missed with my little girl. I've got to see from my little boy just because of Otter Creek, and that has been awesome.
Hell yeah, that is probably one of the most wholesome segments on dad advice we've had on this show.
Genuinely, I love that.
Ooh,
trying not to get emotional. Fuck.
We'll end it there, and we can cry together after. But no, thank you so much, Andrew, for coming on and sharing, talking about Otter Creek with us. Where can we find Otter Creek?
Instagram. We're an Instagram company, and Instagram, our website. I mean,
if people want to, find out more about you, that kind of thing, it'll all be in the description anyway. So no pressure.
No, on our website, if you go to our website, ottercreeklabs.com, there's an About Us section. There's a picture of all the employees on there, our 6 dudes and John. There's a picture of all of us on there, and it talks about us and me and John, and kind of like gives our backstory a little bit more and stuff like that. And yeah, that's as far as finding more about the company. There's the About Us page, and then there's the Otter Dump Instagram page, which is just kind of like our shit posting. Yeah, it's just kind of like our shit posting whatever page, and then you have the actual Otter Creek Labs Instagram page, which is like where everything's professional, and you know what I mean. So yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I like how initially the Otter Creek Instagram page was kind of the shit post page, and then it kind of branched off to, oh shit, we actually have products now.
I am a businessman doing business things.
Exactly. This is something cool. If you go to our Otter Creek Labs, the actual Otter Creek Labs Instagram, and you go to the bio, there's a phone number on there, and we have texting customer service. So if you don't want to send an email or you don't want to call and you just want to text me, there's a number in the bio where you can just text me, just like you'd text your mom or whatever, and it'll come straight to me, and I'll answer any question that you have.
That's awesome.
Hell yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, right, well, thank you for coming on. It's far overdue.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you all for having me.
We'll do stuff again. I'm 100% sure of it.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And I'm being 100% serious. You only live an hour and a half away. Okay. Anytime you want, dude, we've got belt feds, we've got Uzis, we've got MP5s. Right now we're working on getting the belt fed mounted to the back of a pickup truck so we can drive it around.
Yeah. Is it an old Taco?
No, it's a S10. We're calling it the Trailer Park Technical.
I love that.
I love the little name.
Yeah, dude, we have tons of fun shit we can get into if you ever want to come up here, and we have property that we shoot on, so we can go out and literally do, like, it's not like a range or anything. We can literally go out and do whatever the fuck we want. So if you ever want to come out and have a good time, we can do it.
That's fucking.
Say less. I'll be the Nathan fly out. Come to Appalachia.
I'm so down. That'd be fucking awesome. But yeah, I'm looking forward to hanging a shot as well. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyways, Happy New Year, everyone. Sorry we didn't have an episode last week. Literally everyone was doing stuff. We planned to, I promise. 3 things fell through. We love you all. Happy late New Year.
See you all. Thank you.
All right. Okay, bye. Where's the button? The button's not going. It's not doing the thing. I'm trying to make it stop, and it's not stopping. What the fuck?